Hi guys, this video is going to be about tips for your interviews and how to best prepare for an interview into nursing or any related course. So I'm going to tell you a bit about my interview and what I did to prepare, and I really hope that it helps. First thing that I want to say is know your interview format. So I got a letter saying what would be happening, where it has to be, and all the different things I'll be doing in the day. And although it was a little bit different on the day, it was really important that I knew the basic way that the day was going to go and how it was set up and what was expected of me in that day. That is really important. So make sure if you've got a letter, which you should have, read it again and again and again, and make sure that you know exactly what you're doing on the day of your interview, and make sure you get there on time. And then obviously there's the obvious tips like dress formally, and yeah. So the way my interview went for the uni that I'm going to, I've had 3 interviews at different unis, so they were all slightly different. But for nursing, generally in the UK, you get a instead of just a one-to-one interview, you get a selection day. So it's a whole, I was there the whole day. And what happened was that all the children nursing prospective students, were in one room with the lecturers, and we were told about the course, and a lot of things that were discussed on the open day were discussed again in the interviews. And basically we were told later that they were just assessing us all day and how we interacted with other prospective students next to us, and how we interacted with the lecturers. And obviously we didn't know that, but it's really helpful to know that they will be looking at your every move and how you interact with people, because nursing is such a people profession, and it's so important that you can interact well with people. So definitely be friendly and talk. Even if you're really nervous, try and push your nerves away and be confident, and get yourself noticed, and make sure the lecturers see you and know who you are. Yeah, and not be scared to talk and ask questions. So yeah, they had us all there, and they discussed what the course was about, and they asked us a few questions. Some of them were a few trick questions, like they asked us to put our hands up if we would not give the medication that causes abortion to a woman. So that was really controversial, and we were all a bit like, what should we say? Shall we say the truth? Shall we not? And they actually wanted us to say the truth. They wanted us to have our opinion, to make our opinions known. And don't be scared of that. Don't be scared of making your opinion known. Obviously, be wise about it. Don't just say anything. But if they ask you a question like that, don't be afraid to make your opinion known. One of the first things that we did was a literacy and numeracy test, because the lecturers wanted to get this out the way. Most unis, I think actually all unis, give you a literacy and a numeracy test. It's really important to prepare for it. My first interview I didn't, because I didn't know what to expect at all. But you can actually go online and type in nursing numeracy test, nursing math test, like nursing interview test, and they'll have all the math questions that you'll be expected to know. So it's things like decimals, fractions, multiplications, divisions. It's not hard. Like the uni I'm going to, it was actually the easiest one that I did. But you have to be prepared for it. You have to revise. And one of the things I did was go back to my old math teacher at school and ask them to help me, and just to revise all the things that I did at GCSE level, because I hadn't done it for a couple of years, and I'd forgotten a lot of it, and I'm not that great at maths anyway. And then for the literacy, they gave us one question, and we had to write about it. So my question was how to reduce teenage pregnancy. So we didn't have a long time to write, and we only had one sheet of paper, but it's just the structure and what you write, and you just think about it and make sure you plan it. And that's probably the easiest part, actually, the literacy I found. But the numeracy, you have to revise, you have to work for it. And then we did, after the discussion and things like that, we did a group interview where about, I'd say 5 or 6 of us went into a room with 2 lecturers, and we discussed the topic, what was in our literacy, so the teenage pregnancy. in different unis they'll discuss different things. Some unis won't have group interviews, but we did, and that is so important because everyone's pushing to get in what they have to say and make sure you speak. Like, that is the most important thing. You don't want the lecturers to say, you know, Natasha, what do you think? You want to already have said something before the lecturers have to push you to say something. And then you have a one-to-one interview, which I'll come back to later. So a few of the tips that I have is know about the course. This is mainly because in our discussion, when we were all together, the course, it was talking a lot about the course, and there was lots of questions being put to us, and there was lots of questions, like we had the opportunity to ask lots of questions. So it's important that we know about it. And by knowing about my course, I was able to answer lots of questions, so they knew about me. And one of the positive comments I got was, well, they asked us who had ever worked with sick children before, because a lot of people think children's nursing is working and playing with children, but actually these children are really sick. And I put my hand up because I have worked with many very sick children, and one of the lecturers said, oh, I can tell that you've worked with sick children, I know you have, because of the things I was saying and the way I was explaining things. And although I was nervous, you have to push that out because you have to make yourself known. And also be careful when you're asking them questions, because I find some of them are legitimate questions, but some of the pupils that were interviewing, I'm not sure if they got a place, I don't really know, but they ask questions about the course that you should really know before even applying for nursing, because it's these things like the decision between whether you do nursing or not, and they were asking questions like that, and I was like, you're asking questions like that in your interview, and it just, if I was a lecturer, I would just have thought that was a bit weird, and it just didn't quite cut it. So yeah, that's important, and be confident and make sure you speak. And make sure you talk to people, talk to the students next to you, talk to the lecturers. You know, a lot of the time in these selection days you'll have a break, you'll have free time. Make sure you're talking to people, not just going on your phone or getting a drink. Talk to people, because that is what the lecturers are looking for. They're watching you all of the time. So make sure you're known to the students, make sure you're known to the lecturers, and make sure they remember you. The other thing that I was going to talk about was about the numeracy test. I found it, as well, I've already mentioned this, about doing practice papers and practice questions, and you can get them online, and that's really important, so I've discussed that already. Now the one-to-one interviews is what I want to lastly talk about. Now this, what they did, it was different with every uni. So actually the uni I'm going to is the only one I ended up getting to the one-to-one interviews for. Oh, that's not it. Where's the sheet? Yeah, and what I did before I went was, I've got here, it says some questions to think about, and I've written, it's like 2 pages or 1.5 pages of questions that might be asked during your interviews. And I got this from, I'm quite lucky because my teacher was a nurse, so she'd already been there and done it, and she'd helped with some interviews in the past, so she wrote down a lot of questions for me. But I'll say the questions that I've written down. Some weren't asked, but it's important to know them because different unis will ask different things. So the first question I've got is, why do you want to be a nurse, or what made you want to become a nurse? Now this is important, that is what you're usually asked. You're usually asked that at most unis you go to. Why do you want to be a nurse? So you've got to know that in your head, you've got to know the answer. And obviously, like, I've written it and then written my answer there. And obviously you don't know it word by word, you're not revising it, but you pretty much know, just so you're prepared for if they ask that question, you know what to say. So you're not there thinking, oh, why do I want to be a nurse? I just do, and freaking out about it, because it doesn't help. And then I put about the subjects I've studied and why this will be a benefit to nursing. So that was quite easy for me because I've done loads of subjects in my course which would really benefit me. What experiences have you had in the nursing capacity? Now it's really important to get work experience. Not necessarily as a nurse, but maybe in hospitals or with children, or, you know, even family members, if you've got sick family members, you need to mention all that you can to them. And sometimes they'll ask questions like, what was the last thing you read? Just because they want to kind of get you off guard, and they want to make sure that like you're not sort of trying too hard. So sometimes you just have to be prepared with these things, so you can just say something. Sometimes they'll ask if there's anything that's been in the news lately to do with nursing. That's where in my last video I talked about the nursing standard. That's really good for those type of questions. How would you handle difficult situations? So sometimes they'll give you a scenario and we'll be like, how do you handle this? An angry patient, for instance. And this is where your work experience comes in really handy, because if you've done a lot of work experience, you'll generally be able to handle that. You'd have come across that before. Have you had any personal experience with caring? That was a bit like the work experience type thing. I talked about family members in that. What do you think you'll find most difficult while nursing? Now this is one that I was actually asked, like, because nursing is so demanding and they want to know that you'll be able to handle it and that you won't drop out. So you've got to be able to handle the workload and handle all that you do, and I was able to answer that quite well. And I'll talk in a minute about how I answered those questions. How will you cope with the workload and placements? That's a similar kind of thing. Are you willing to travel all over London for placements, which is another thing that they ask me. You have to travel all over the place to get where you need to go. What makes you different to someone else? They always want to know that. What makes you special? What can you offer to the nursing profession? They want to know that. And sometimes they'll just ask you what I do in my spare time. Now in my interview, what they did was I went in and I was quite relaxed about it, because it was the last thing that we did in the day, so I'd already known, like, we got to meet the lecturers and stuff, and they just said, tell me about yourself. So I had that opportunity just to tell them whatever I wanted. So I could tell them, I told them what course I'd been studying, why that was helpful, what experience I had, and why I wanted to do nursing. I talked loads about my experiences because I have loads of experience, which was great. And then so when they asked me individual questions like, how do you handle your workload, I would say to them, well, as I said before, I've done this course and have this experience, and I've been working in this and this place, and I've been handling that, and I've had to organise my time, and I've had to be able to do that, so I think I'd be able to handle that really well, which was a great thing, great answer, and they just sort of came into my head, like, because I was able to prepare for it. It's so important, your preparation. Another thing they asked me is why you want to do the child branch in particular, and they usually would ask you for any branch you do, why that branch in particular. So you've got to really think about that as well. And even don't be scared to ask other people that have been, like, other nurses that you know, what to say, and things like that. And whatever you do, don't just say, because I like children, because it's not, you want to be different. You want to have a different answer from what other people said. I'll actually tell you the answer I gave, because they said that it was the best answer they'd had. So I was really happy about that. I said that child nursing gives you all aspects of nursing, because your patient is the child. However, children rarely come to hospital without parents or an adult, so you're working with the adults, and a lot of children will have learning disabilities and mental health problems and special needs and lots of other problems. So it's almost all the nursing branches in one, and that's what I said, and they were really pleased with that answer, and obviously I got into the uni. I've been talking for way too long, but if you want me to discuss any specific questions and the answers I gave and good answers, then please comment below. And at the moment I'm not really sure what videos to do, so just comment and subscribe and message me about videos that you'd want me to do. If not, I'll probably see you when I start my induction in 2 weeks. So I hope that was helpful to you. Alright, bye.